As Victor Davis Hanson of the Hoover Institute points out, ICE is dealing with very serious criminal gangs. If anyone in those gangs finds out the identity of these ICE agents, their lives could be in danger very quickly. And here now with more is Victor Davis Hanson, along with former Michigan gubernatorial candidate Tudor Dixon. First of all, Tudor, I just wanted to go to you real quickly. You know, it is amazing the degree to which Donald Trump has rewritten the political map. He won Michigan now twice on promises to crack down on illegal immigration. Are voters in Michigan pleased that he is keeping that promise?
Absolutely. They're pleased that he's keeping all of his promises. But really, this is something that people are pleased across the country. We're only hearing from loud, radical Democrats that they are not happy about this. And honestly, if you hear their messaging, they're the ones that are putting out racist messaging. They're the ones that are hurting minority communities by saying these things. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. Right. It has to do with that word they love so much, documentation. And they don't have documentation.
Right. Victor Davis Hanson, so, this issue of masks, it really is kind of astonishing to think about the years that we have been through watching the lawlessness where Democrat voters basically are, happily burning down city blocks, causing mayhem, and there's not a peep out of Democrats about this. But now you have ICE agents trying to enforce the laws that including Democrat voters, lawmakers put on the books. Suddenly they want to have some law that prohibits people from wearing masks.
Yeah, Charlie, I think there's a pattern there that if you're breaking the law, you're protected by the Democrats, and if you're trying to enforce it, you're demonized. The same thing about the border. If 12 million people come in and it's moral that they broke the law, you try to return the people home and follow law, then you're amoral. But I really think that all of this violence is a symptom of the Democratic Party not saying anything. And they look back to 2020, 5 months of rioting, death, destruction, chaos, $14,000 arrests, and these protesters think they didn't do anything to those people. So there's no downside for us doing these things. And the Democrats say, well, there's an upside because in 2020, we had Donald Trump in a lose-lose situation. If he called in the Marines or the Guards, he was Hitler. And if he didn't, he couldn't control the chaos. And we're going to replay that now that we don't have any institutional power, but we still have that paradigm. And that's what they're trying to do, to create mayhem and force Donald Trump either to use excessive force or no force at all, and then look impotent.
Well, Tudor, it is kind of interesting because, of course, no one cannot show some of the footage of what we're showing right now. You see that on other TV channels as well, Democrat channels as well. When voters in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, who Donald Trump stole from the Democrat Party, when they see these images, do they look at this and they say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that we're deporting all these criminal aliens? Or do they look at this and say, okay, thank goodness somebody's actually enforcing the law?
Well, I think it's been great to see the administration educating people on who they are deporting, because in the past, we haven't had that ability to do that. But we've got these ads going out that are telling us, hey, look, this person was a rapist. This person was a murderer. These are really bad people. It's not that people are just getting deported willy-nilly. They are looking for the bad guys. I mean, you talk about what happened in Minnesota. They're finding people that are raping children. And this administration has done a fantastic job of actually educating people on who they're taking out of the country. Donald Trump is amazing. His whole administration learned from the first time, we've got to be the people talking to the Americans rather than the media. They've done that. The people are listening, and they are pleased with what they're doing.
It's interesting, Victor, when I think back to the Tea Party discomfort among Republicans back in 2010, Democrats managed to sort of avoid all of that because they had Obama, who was a very unifying figure within the Democrat Party. It's like all the mayhem that hit the Republican Party, 15 years ago, is now hitting the Democrat Party. And I don't know how they get out of this tailspin.
No, they're riding a tiger, and they can't keep on it, and they can't get off. And the tiger is the AOC squad, lunatic fringe of their party. They're violent, dangerous people, and yet they feel they have to keep riding them to get any credibility, but they're going to be bitten by their own creation, I think. It's headed nowhere. It's a lose-lose situation for them. That's why they're so angry, and especially because Donald Trump is doing so well. If Donald Trump would just fail, they would calm down. But every time they get angrier and angrier, the better Donald Trump does.
And if something tells me that no matter how hard they try, you have a full-blown communist in a place like New York City who is, it doesn't matter whether he wins or loses. It's probably worse for them if he actually wins, but it's going to put it on, all of their stupid divisions on display, and every Republican in the country is going to be able to run against that one candidate. And by the way, that really works very effectively in modern politics. Victor Davis Hanson, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Tudor Dixon, thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.